Good evening, fuckers. We are back with the next Train Simulator Classic request video. This one is the second request from Northlander, and I did think there was only two, and I couldn't really figure out why. Well, I've since found out it's because YouTube, once again, did not give me all the notifications of the messages that had been left. So there are actually three that he made, and it's covering all three of the diesel hydraulics that are in the game. So yep, a third one has emerged. This one is, I think by a fairly hefty margin, the shortest of the lot. That does not mean by any stretch of the imagination that this is a short run. No. So we are on the South Wales main line, or at least we will be fairly soon. We start at Bristol Temple Meads. South Wales main line is actually part of the Great Western Main Line, but we're not on the Great Western Main Line when we start. I say at Bristol Temple Meads. It's not until we reach Bristol Parkway that we are on the Great Western Main Line, and I was tempted to start at Bristol Parkway, but that's not what he asked for. So yeah, Bristol Temple Meads is going to be the starting point. Our destination is Swansea, and he wants us stopping at all stations along the way, which is, you know, no problem. However, with this particular route, it does have a habit of sending us on avoiding lines at pretty much any opportunity it gets. The most ridiculous one is that, whenever I've done this route, going all the way to Swansea, it always puts us on the avoiding line when we are going through the station that is Cardiff Central. Now, there is no way a train that is going from Bristol to Swansea would not stop at Cardiff, and yet the game does constantly keep putting us on the avoiding line there. So I can't guarantee we will be able to stop at Cardiff, but let's hope so, because it is pretty ridiculous if it has us going through, on the avoiding line. As for the loco, yeah, it is the second of the diesel hydraulics that he's asked for, class 42, which was actually the very first of the diesel hydraulics that was built. This entered service in 56, I think it was. So I've got it, in BR blue with 7 Mark 1 coaches. It is again the shortest consist that I could get. There are a reasonable number of smallish stations on this route, so yeah, again, I had to go with the smallest consist. I'm not entirely sure how long, this run is. I don't think it goes into 3 figures, so yeah, say it's the shortest of the 3 that he's asked for. But in terms of the specifics, again, he was a bit specific with these. So it is summer, it's cloudy, it's only light cloud, it's hardly any difference from clear to this, and it's 10 AM start. So that is the setup. Let's get this up and running. And here we are in what I think is one of the weirdest cabs in of any train in the game, to be honest. It's not that I don't like it. At least I don't mind it, yeah, if I'm driving it this way. I think if it was me driving it in real life, I probably wouldn't be quite so keen. Let's put the rear cab lights on, but we won't put the main one on. Also sort the lights out. Not that there are very many to sort out, because yeah, the front light basically lights up the head code there. So we are 2 Charlie 07. So here is, yep, our class 42 with its 7 Mark II coaches, 5 standard, 2 first class. And yeah, we have a 175 right next to us here. Now brakes are actually already off, which is unusual to put it mildly, but let's apply some for now. And then we'll let passengers on. Some have got off. They saw me getting in the driver's seat. That was enough for them to change their mind about taking this train. There we go. So, as is so often the case, it is a short stop. So yeah, we are a long old way from the actual front here because of the sheer size of this control panel, control desk thing here. Anyway, and we can start to get underway. So it's 25 mph speed limit as we pull away from Temple Meads. Quite a hefty amount of the old diesel fumes coming out of this thing. But then, yeah, this is a train that came into service in 1956. Its emissions was not a priority. In fact, they weren't a consideration of any kind, and I have no problem with that whatsoever. So despite the fact that Temple Meads is by far the most well-known station in Bristol, and it is the busiest, yeah, it is not on the Great Western Main Line, and therefore it's not on the South Wales Main Line. The only reason you would have to go to Temple Meads station is if you are heading down into the southwest, you know, towards Devon, Cornwall and all that way. Otherwise, yeah, it's Bristol Parkway that is the station that you are more likely to be using. So Swansea is 83.25 miles away. So yeah, this is the shortest run of the those that he has requested, but it is by no means a short run. Especially as we are going to be stopping at all of these commuter stations on this. I mean, this is a sort of branch line, part of the Bristol and Avonless sort of network, which takes us up from Temple Meads to yeah, Bristol Parkway. Now, this is one train that I'm still a long way from being adept when it comes to the braking. Now hopefully I'll get a bit more used to it like I did in the previous video in the 35. The 35 brakes are okay. This one, the brakes are not so great. Alright. So yeah, I've overshot. Actually, I say I've overshot. Yeah, the door's there, so they could get out there, no problem. For some reason, the doors are not opening. But, well, okay, so the rear carriage, yeah, isn't even on the platform. Oh well, doors didn't open, let's go. See how much, oh, we've got a lot of wheel slip there. I'm going to see how much, in a way of smoke I could generate. Let's try now. It doesn't actually change that much even when we go up into top notch here. It's still plenty, but yeah, I'd like to have seen more. So the Class 42, say, entered service in 1956, and it kind of went against everything that the modernisation plan of 1955 sort of stood for. They wanted standardised locos right across the entire British Railways network. That would be easy to maintain because they were all using standard parts. This thing didn't use a single standard part at all. And it very much sort of serves the purpose in this part of the country, but that was the only consideration that they had actually had. They weren't, you know, they didn't give any sort of like thought at all to how well it would do in the rest of Britain, because as far as they were concerned it was going to run here and nowhere else. But when I say here, I mean like their particular region, which was the southwest, Cornwall, Devon, Somerset, Dorset, and that was about it. Okay, well, some of the doors open this time, so no, I'm not overshot at all with any of the carriages, but once again, the rear ones, yeah, nowhere near it. The rear two, I mean, they could get out here, but yeah, you've got a bloody great fence in the way here. Anyway, another short stop. Off we go again. Now the thing is, even though this was only built to, say, serve its local area, this did include the likes of Plymouth, of Devon and Cornwall, which has a significant number of steep gradients to traverse, both uphill and downhill. So even though it never saw service outside of the southwest, I think it would have been fine on a lot of routes. The problem was that it was a Type 4, and therefore it was rather heavy and too heavy for quite a few routes that its power would have been more than slightly useful for. Now this particular route that we're on, I'm not actually 100% certain if it did run this route or not. But I do know that there was an engine depot, you know, train depot in Cardiff that did store quite a few Class 42s. So they must have done this route at some point and in some sort of capacity. Whether or not that was, you know, as a passenger service, I do not know. I mean, I suppose it must have done, because it makes no sense at all to store them in Cardiff if all they were going to do is just serve Cornwall, Devon, Somerset and Dorset. So logically, you'd think, yeah, it must have done the South Wales route. But then logic never really sort of played a particularly big role when it came to the British Railways network of the 1950s. It also has to be said, and I actually do say this pretty much every time the old 42 makes an appearance on this channel, it's not a looker. In fact, it's a pig ugly looking thing. But it is quite distinctive. Certainly give it that. Filton Abbey Wood is at the next station. So we've still not actually joined the Great Western Main Line. And there, what you heard was the AWS system with its very unique alarm. This train was actually the first train on the British Railways network to use what became the AWS system. It wasn't called it then, I can't remember what it was called. And it was done in quite a rudimentary way, it has to be said, but I mean it worked, so you can't say it was all bad. Looks like we're going over points. As you can see, I'm letting the uphill section slow us down. It seems to be doing a bit too good a job of it. So we are approaching Filton Abbey Wood at an incredibly slow speed. So yeah, this station is really sort of like geared towards just 4, maybe 5 coaches at most. And I've got 7 here. Well, some doors opened, including the frontmost carriage. But yeah, once again, the rear 2, you're not getting off those. So yeah, this is Filton Abbey Wood. Doors have all shut. Away we go. Or we will once the brakes disengage. So yeah, as I was saying, we have not yet joined the Great Western Main Line yet. We've already made a handful of stops. I was just going to say that's overdoing it. I think this might be where we've actually joined the Great Western Main Line. Well, we'll know for certain if the next station is Bristol Parkway. No, it isn't. Patchway next. I'm pretty sure Bristol Parkway is after Patchway. So this loco could generate somewhere in the region of 2,500 horsepower. One of the reasons why it was able to generate so much is because it actually had two engines fitted to it. And the engines are actually Maybach engines, and when you consider that this thing was, well, it was being built in 1955, so the country was still sort of like feeling the after effects of the war. So for British Railways to then get the engines for this loco from a German manufacturer, yeah, the British public at the time were not particularly impressed. And nowadays, yeah, no problem at all. In fact, Germany is probably the #1 place you would go to if you need something like, you know, a decently powerful engine that is going to be reliable and you know, actually do the job that it's meant to do well. Yeah, Germany is the first place you go. But in 1955 things were a bit different, and anti-German feeling was still absolutely rampant. So we're fine at the front, but once again, yeah, the rear two, not a prayer. So again, fairly short stop. Let's pull away in the exterior shot. So there is a slight change in the intensity of the fumes being given off. Well, hoping we can see how it looks in the top notch. We're almost at 20, I think we can do it. Yeah, there is a change, but it's very, very slight. We're going to be going through the Patchway Old Tunnel. It looks like it's a fair old length, this tunnel, but I can absolutely assure you it is not the longest tunnel we will be going through on this run. So we will be going through the Severn Tunnel. So we're on a 1 in 81 downhill section here. This will certainly help with the old speed. Now 1 in 90 downhill. Yeah, it stays going downhill the whole way. Now 1 in 68, it certainly helps as far as allowing us to pick up speed. And once again, my prediction about oh yes, the next station must be Bristol Parkway, completely down the toilet. So it is now. Is it Pining or no Pilning? These are all stations, all in this area that I've covered so far, that I should sort of like really know quite well, because I've got a whole slew of route DLCs that all sort of overlap, all in this area. And next month I'll have another 2, but then say next month, the end of this month, I'll have another 2 that do. So yeah, again, braking way too early. The thing with the brakes on this is they really do take their time to sort of kick in, but when they do, they're ferocious. I think we might have been able to get all carriages on this one, but yeah. Yeah, actually we might have done. It would have been tight, but I think we might have been able to do it. Anyway, I heard the doors shut. Onwards. Now, this does look like quite a major route we're on here, so we could now be on the, I know I've said it already about half a dozen times, but yeah, I think we could now be on the Great Western Main Line here. I mean, that line is not electrified, or at least not in this game, so yeah, we can't even use that as a way of being able to tell. So, I'm trying to see where it is here. It is somewhere around here, is the actual AWS, here it is. Yeah, it just looks like a sink plunger, and that is effectively what it was. So yes, ATC is the system that is actually implemented here, but yeah, the train would run over something that's been placed beside the tracks. It would knock that. And so the air would, as we are moving along, would pass through a hole and make that sort of like whistling sound. And in order to stop it, you had to push down on the handle here, push down on the plunger to silence it. Also, just remember that we are speeding. Bloody hell! I suppose us being on a 1 in 100 downhill probably isn't helping. Yeah, this is where all the lighting that is. There we go. I forgot it was right down there in the corner. Well, this looks like it's saying we are now going through the 7 tunnels, so it's not actually taken us to Bristol Parkway. But it would certainly explain why it looked like we were on the main line, because we are. Those rather eerie blue lights as we reach the bottom. So now we are leveling. We're on level ground. And then as we pass these next pair of lights, that marks the start of the uphill section. So even with 100% throttle, this 1 in 90 section, we are still losing speed. Can you imagine trying to get through this thing in a steam train, knowing full well that you can't open up the furnace to put more coal in, because if you do, you're dead. Yeah. So we are now in Wales anyway. It's taken us long enough to get here, but yeah, here we are. Seven Tunnel Junction is our next stop. Let the uphill gradient slow us down, which I'm sure it will do quite a bit actually. So we'll be in a 70 zone as we pull away from the station. Should easily get the whole train on this. No problem at all. So yep, this is 7 Tunnel Junction. It is a bit in the middle of nowhere. I can't imagine there'd be too many people actually using this station. Right, onwards. So we now stay on the Great Western Main Line for the rest of the journey, really. South Wales is a lot more heavily industrialised than North Wales, but nevertheless it does still have some pretty good sights to see around it. Let's face it, we're in a train that is not going to be moving at you know, breakneck speeds, so we're going to have a good amount of time to admire the scenery. actually sure what the top speed of the Class 42 is. I think it's only about 75. It's not written anywhere. A fair bit of farmland. Southern Wales isn't really known for its farming area. That's more North Wales, but now I think that rail that we've just passed under, that might be part of the Welsh Marches line. Might be, I don't really know. But that's a pretty major railway garage depot so there. Well, if I was right about the top speed of this thing being 75, we've gone well past that. In fact, we've gone past it with such ease that, yeah, it must be somewhere between 85 and 90. We have a 75 speed reduction coming up in a mile and a half. Now it's down a 1 in 97, that will certainly help with the acceleration, although it's at a time when we don't really need it. Thankfully it was fairly short, we have to level it out. That's the alert for the 75 section there. I can't imagine driving this thing as a freight train. I know it did do freight services, but oh dear. But I had enough trouble in class 70s, class 58s and class 66s, and they are very much the freight specialists. So we have a decrease down to 40 in a mile and a half. That suggests it's approaching the station. Especially as it then goes down to 30. But must be a station coming up, and there it is. So what is it, Nice? No, Newport, okay. Newport would be the end of the line if we were on the Welsh Marches line. Now we've slowed down this much, we can actually hear ourselves think. I don't think soundproofing was a priority on this thing. It's probably just as well actually, because the material used for soundproofing was the same material that they used in the brakes. Yeah, asbestos. Fine as far as our speed before the approach to Newport station. Castle walls here at Newport. And Newport is, yeah, it's new in the same way that the New Forest is new. This is a really painfully slow approach to this station, but well, we're almost here. So yeah, this is Newport then. As always, it's going to be a fairly short stop. Yeah, all the doors have shut. So onwards. Well, the next sort of like major town that we will be approaching is Cardiff. So we'll see if it is going to actually have us stopping there, or is it going to yeah, put us on the avoiding line again. may be a bit of an old crate this thing, but I'm pulling away from stations faster than I do if I'm in an 86 or 87. Back, pulled away a bit too quick. So now we're in the 50 zone. Downhill section is there we go. Right, now we're okay. We're in the 75 zone. We have a 95 zone coming up, but our acceleration from 50 to 75 is not brilliant, so I don't think there's any danger of us speeding before we hit the 95 section. But it's certainly not going to speed while we're in that zone, because yeah, we're not getting a 95 no matter how much we try. There we are in the 95 zone. Ah, we get a trackside view straight away. Would you really want to be using a camera in this position? We'll have one more stab, see if we get another, yeah, here we are, another trackside view. Really not a look at the old Warship. speed reduction is coming up, 75 in a mile and a half. Certainly give us plenty of advance warning about these speed reductions. It's a pretty major freight terminal over there. Into the 75 zone. The zone is fast approaching. Surprised we haven't had a AWS alert for it, or ACS as it is in this thing. There we go. Speed not to exceed 90, so there we go, so it is 90 max operational speed in this thing. But it does seem to suggest that it could do faster than that. Going down to 20 in under a mile. So we're in Newtown, but I don't think that is the stop that is coming up. I don't think there is a stop for Newtown, is there? Looks like we're slowing down for Cardiff. see if we're actually going to stop here. But it doesn't look like we are. Cardiff down main through is putting us on the through line. So yeah, it is a bit ridiculous, but it is doing it again. So we're not stopping at Cardiff Central. Started slowing way too early. It's the ACS alert for it, but yeah, I mean we're doing 20 now. So yeah, here we are at Cardiff, but we are not going to be stopping here. Up a 1 in 88, or now 1 in 93. Yeah, I wouldn't fancy coming down on this, but it looks like quite a steep slope. We are in the 20 zone as we approach Cardiff station. So, yep, it's putting us on here on the through line. See the Millennium Stadium over in the distance there, or the Principality Stadium as it is now. Here a 175, there it is. What a difference between the two trains. So the 42, okay, it may be an ugly looking thing, but it ain't a useless heap of shit like the 175 is. Now entering a 30 zone as we pass Cardiff station. I'm out in the 30 zone. Let's get a bit of speed up, as much as we can anyway. there's the main depot at Cardiff, the main train depot. That is where some of these 42s were kept. Picked up quite a few speeding errors in this run. We still have a fair way to go, just shy of 45 miles. We've still got to pass through the likes of Nice, Port Talbot. I'm sure there are others. So we're into the 70 zone. Let's get some proper speed going. Quite a lush part of South Wales here. 175. I never turned that off. So, the next station, Swansea. Very small station indeed. I think it's highly unlikely we will get the entire train on this platform. Yeah, there's no way we're getting the whole train on here. So again, the brakes cut in like very suddenly. So yeah, it looks like 4 cars is the max that this thing is set up for. Well, I might just have got 5 on here. Yeah, rear 2 nowhere near. That one is fine though. Oh, okay, all the doors were shut, so stop is over, but well, I think that was probably about as good as I could do. Next station, Harren. Tiny station here. Okay, it's not quite as small as the valley in, you know, on Anglesey, but So again, it's just the 4 front coaches. That's pretty much all it's going to be until we reach maybe, yeah, maybe Nice. Yeah, really, yeah, it is only going to be the major stations: Nice, Port Talbot, Swansea. There are all these other ones, at best, yeah, 4 coaches. So an 85 zone is coming up in just under a mile. I'd like to think we, will need to slow down a bit before then, but just done over this thing. One in 126 downhill will certainly help us accelerate at a fair old rate. Not really going to get the chance to, because the next station, Pencoed. Fairly steep gradient this is on, 1 in 100, and we are gaining speed, so we've got to really watch our braking here. Very staggered platforms here. And one on the other side has already long since stopped, and we've got a level crossing before the platform on our side even starts. Oh, I made a real bollocks up of this one. Okay, that could have actually been far worse than I thought it was going to be. or rather it's nowhere near as bad as I thought it was going to be. Yeah, rear carriage as always. The second from the rear might just about been able to yeah, there's the door. You got a bit of a step down, but yeah, could have done it. Anyway, that's that stop. So, in an 85 zone, let's see how quickly we can get to it, assuming that there are no stations coming up that will interrupt things. Swansea is now less than 30 miles away. Rather annoyingly, we have a 60 mph speed reduction coming up. And there's why. Bridge End. This is a fairly major Welsh town, so surely we can get surely we can get the entire train on this platform. So we forgot all about the Bridge End being on this line. Into a 60 zone, which is fine, we're well below that. It wasn't it Bridgend Rugby Club that JPR Williams played for. In my opinion, the greatest rugby player of all time. It's almost a good thing he's not around anymore. He can't see just how shit Welsh rugby has become. So here we are at Bridgend. We have 175, 3-car 175 there. That's at the terminus section. Yeah, Bridgend does look like quite a nice part of Wales. I mean, there's no shortage of nice parts of Wales, that's for sure. Right, onwards. Swansea is about 25.5 miles. See there, yeah, signs for HSTs, so yeah, this must certainly be a major stop if HSTs were stopping here. But like I say, Bridgend is certainly a major Welsh town, so highly unlikely that they were not going to stop here. So we're into a 90 zone. Let's try and get some speed up in this thing. Oh well, not gonna last long. Speed reduction in just under a mile. 75 will be the top. I think it's highly unlikely we will have reached 75 by that point. The AWS are warning us to slow down. We're still very much accelerating on 75. We're still 20 mph below it. We are in the 75 zone. We're also climbing a 1 in 132 uphill gradient. Yeah, I'll be amazed if we get to 75 before we pass this 85 max speed increase. haven't even hit 60 yet. So we're into an 85 zone, we're entering it. Now we're in it, and we're still not even doing 60 yet. Never mind the 90 zone going up, there's a 100 zone in about a mile and a quarter. We're certainly not going to be doing that. And the next station comes up, Pyle. Could well describe it. I guess we'll find out in, well, about a mile and a quarter. Down a bit quicker than this, but I won in 93 downhill as we pass another 175. This downhill section is getting steeper all the time. It's now 1 in 80. Okay, now it's easing off. Now getting steeper again. Yeah. Overshoot this one as well. But again, it's not as bad as I thought. So this is Pyle. Yeah, not exactly anything here to make it stand out. I think Pyle might be a pretty apt name for this place. Oh, there's another short stop. Let's get back underway. decrease down to 90 coming up. It's not exactly going to impact us too much. Thing I haven't done yet on this run. Certainly rather distinctive, I'll give it that. Okay, we are now in the 90 zone. That looks like quite a big major industrial area there, which suggests this is Port Talbot we are approaching. Would also explain these large amounts of sidings here. Port Talbot down Main. 70 mph limit. That looks like yeah, quite a hefty substation there. Could even be a main power station. Yeah, we've got the same on this side as well. Get the ACS alert. We're already doing a load assembly. Port Talbot station, yeah, coming up in a mile and a half. There is presumably the big old steel works. I think it's all sort of like in one area, isn't it? The steel works, the actual port itself, and I can't. Isn't there an oil refinery around here or something as well? certainly have no problems getting the whole train on this platform. Quite a major station here, Port Talbot Parkway. So yeah, this is the more scenic part of Port Talbot. I mean, yeah, if you don't look in that direction, it's actually is quite nice here. The rolling hills and everything. Right, onwards. About to interrupted again. I didn't realise it was as late as that. So, another station coming up, Bangland. Not familiar with it in the slightest. Judging from the size of it, it's not exactly a major one, but yeah, we will be stopping there. So we were asked to stop at every station. Again, I really thought we were going to overrun that quite badly. In fact, yeah, we probably stopped a bit early more than anything. But anyway, this is Bangland. One of the first three carriages are fine, the rest, I mean, here's the rear. Jesus Christ. The rear three couldn't even get on. So anyway, another short stop. Pretty nice scenic parts of South Wales now. Of course, you really hit the scenic part of South Wales once you enter Pembrokeshire. We don't go as far as that. Britain Ferry is the next next station. Really sure what that was signalling us for. Looks like it could be for the 70 mph limit that comes into effect after this station. Does rather suggest that they don't expect many people to stop here. Got the timing of this stop more wrong. Can you imagine if you got onto, well, yeah, you were going onto this station and then discovered you got onto the wrong platform. You got a long old trek to get onto the right one. So again, the loco is overshot, but in fact, yeah, the carriages are fine around the end. What a surprise. It was only the end one that couldn't get off. So, yeah, by my standards, that wasn't too bad, actually. Okay, onwards. Swansea is now just 9.5 miles away. you're in the 70 zone now, very much coming to the end of this run. $35 limit coming up. This could be the approach to the Nice station, and it is. I would have thought we'd be able to get the whole train on this station. I mean, Nice is by no means a small place, but yeah, the route display is not giving me confidence about that. Okay, so yeah, we are going to do it easy. So here we are at Nice station. Yeah, it's another part of South Wales, does look quite nice. Again, rather short stop. Now I have a feeling Swansea may be the next station, although my predictions of such things, yeah, have not exactly been great in previous videos, so, well, I guess we'll see. One in 90 uphill climb here. So into the 75 zone. Now we can get some speed up. Oh, there you go, what I was saying. So the next station is Skewen. Sounds more Scottish than Welsh, but, you know. One in 88 uphill climb here is really slowing us down. See, again, the brakes take a long time to sort of like cut in, but when they do, they really do cut in hard, and I end up braking far earlier than I thought, or than I was hoping for. So, well, this will do. Two rear carriages are nowhere near here. This one, they could easily have got out of there, so it's only the rear carriage that was had no chance. So still on this 1 in 88 uphill climb. It's going to make pulling away from this station a bit of a task. Speed reduction down to 65. That's not a problem. The rate we're going, we won't be anywhere near that sort of speed. So yeah, another station between here in Swansea. So there's me thinking, yeah, after Nice, just the one. No, very much no. We've already had one. Here's the second. So this is Hamlet. I'm not at all confident about my pronunciation of that place name. This station is okay. No, for a minute I thought it was only a single platform. No, the other platform is, yeah, way down there. Again, the brakes cutting in, doing nothing for ages, and then suddenly wallop, there they are. So here we are then, Hamlet. Doesn't look like there's a great deal here. I wonder if it is, as the name suggests, a station that is serving a small sort of like cluster of hamlets in one area. I'll be amazed if there's more than like 4 trains that stop at this station in a day. I mean, look at the state of the rails over here. Yeah, you don't get the old RHCT thing coming through here very often, do you? So we are now on a 1 in 91 downhill, so we can accelerate at a decent rate. Except rather annoyingly, there's a 70 mph limit coming up very quickly. So we're into the 70 zone. Downhill stretch is doesn't go on for too long, about a mile. 1 in 106, it has shallowed a little. So we have 40 mph limit in a mile and a half. That will be the approach to Swansea. It looks like a stadium there. Must be Swansea City football ground. I know their ground is sort of rather on the outskirts of the city. Downhill, fairly steep downhill section coming up here. 1 in 70. 1 in 37 now. The old train wash. Yeah, to put it mildly, I think the brakes a bit too hard there. So the yellow aspect up ahead, seems to be expected. There we go. So here we are at Swansea, and that was Bristol Temple Meads to Swansea in the old Class 42, the old Warship. And yes, as far as the scenery goes, no, it doesn't compare with North Wales, and it certainly doesn't compare with the vast majority of the Scottish routes. I'm amazed I only got speeding 4 times. I thought I had far more than that. Wheel slippage, yeah, okay, well that's me sort of, yeah, being a bit too quick to put the steering in the full throttle, which I do a hell of a lot, and yeah, obviously not that used to the 42. I haven't driven it too many times, but yeah, I mean it's a decent enough run. It does drag a little bit, if I'm going to be brutally honest. The first half of it is much better than the second half. Maybe because to this day I've never done one from the other direction. It might work a bit better from the other direction. I would also, if I was going to do any more runs, in fact I do have one in mind, I might restrict the number of stops, because yeah, a class 42 would, I mean, it doesn't look it, but it would be doing something along the lines of an intercity service. I mean, the actual like term intercity didn't exist when the class 42 came along, at least I don't think it did. So yeah, there'd be no mention of it, but it's certainly like, you know, an intercity service loco, and so the trains using it would not stop at every single station, so that might help a bit as well. But anyway, there we go. That is that video done, and we will see you at the next one.